A fifth book. Chapter 136. It came to pass then, when Jesus our Lord had been crucified, and had risen from the dead on the third day, that his disciples gathered round him, adored him, and said, Our Lord, have mercy upon us, for we have abandoned father and mother, and the whole world, and have followed thee. At that time Jesus stood with his disciples on the water of the ocean, and made invocation with this prayer, saying, Hear me, my Father, Father of all fatherhood, boundless light. A-I-O-U-O, I-A-O, A-O-I, O-I-A, Sinother, Ternops, Nopsither, Zagure, Paguri, Neth Momoeth, Nepsimoeth, Marakakta, Thoberbo, Tarnakakan, Zorokotora, Aiu, Sabaoth. And while Jesus said this, Thomas, Andrew, James, and Simon the Canaanite were in the west with their faces turned towards the east, and Philip and Bartholomew were in the south turned towards the north, and the rest of the disciples and the women disciples stood back of Jesus. But Jesus stood at the altar. And Jesus made invocation, turning himself towards the four corners of the world with his disciples, who were all clad in linen garments, and saying, Iao, Iao, Iao. This is the interpretation. Iota, because the universe hath gone forth. Alpha, because it will turn itself back again. Omega, because the completion of all the completeness will take place. And when Jesus had said this, he said, Iaphtha, Iaphtha, Mauneir, 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 Mauneir. That is, O Father of all fatherhood, of the boundless spaces, hear me for the sake of my disciples whom I have led before thee, that they may have faith in all the words of thy truth, and grant all for which I shall invoke thee, for I know the name of the Father of the treasury of the light. Again did Jesus, that is, aberamento, make invocation, speaking the name of the Father of the treasury of the light, and said, Let all the mysteries of the rulers, and the authorities, and the angels, and the archangels, and all powers, and all things of the invisible God, Egra Makamari and Barbelo, draw near the leech, Bedella, on one side, and withdraw to the light. And in that hour all the heavens went to the west, and all the aeons and the sphere and their rulers, and all their powers flew together to the west, to the left of the disk of the sun, and the disk of the moon. And the disk of the sun was a great dragon whose tail was in his mouth, and who reached to the seven powers of the left, and whom four powers in the form of white horses drew. And the base of the moon had the type of a ship which a male and a female dragon steered, and two white bulls drew. The figure of a babe was on the stern of the moon, who guided the dragons, who robbed the light from the rulers. And on its prow was a cat's face. And the whole world and the mountains and the sea fled together to the west, to the left. And Jesus and his disciples remained in the midst, in an airy region, on the ways of the way of the midst, which lieth below the sphere. And they came to the first order of the way of the midst, and Jesus stood in the air of its region with his disciples. The disciples of Jesus said unto him, What is this region in which we are? Jesus said, These are the regions of the way of the midst. For it came to pass when the rulers of Adamas mutinied and persistently practiced congress, procreating rulers, archangels, angels, servitors, and deacons, that you, the Father of my spirit, came forth from the right and bound them to a fate sphere. For there are 12 aeons, over 6 Sabaoth, the Adamas, ruleth, and his brother Yabrioth ruleth over the other 6. At that time when Yabrioth with his rulers had faith in the mysteries of the light, and was active in the mysteries of the light, and abandoned the mystery of congress. But Sabaoth, the Adamas, and his rulers have persisted in the practice of congress. And when you, the father of my father, saw that Yabrioth had faith, He carried him, and all the rulers who had had faith with him, took him unto himself out of the sphere, and led him into a purified air, in face of the light of the sun, between the regions of those of the midst, and between the regions of the invisible God. He posted him there with the rulers who had had faith in him. But he carried Sabaoth, the Adamus, and his rulers who had not been active in the mysteries of the light, but have been persistently active in the mysteries of Congress, and inbound them into the sphere. He bound 1,800 rulers in every aeon, and set 360 over them, and he set 5 other great rulers as lords over the 360, and over all the bound rulers, who in the whole world of mankind are called with these names. The first is called Kronos, the second Ares, the third Hermes, the fourth Aphrodite, the fifth Zeus,